audio ahead of the video or behind it? And I, unfortunately now, will have to wait for an answer for a minute. Okay. Maybe that's a little better? I think the video is ahead of the audio. Okay. So I just adjusted a thing. Let me know if that helped. And I'm just going to kind of keep going, and I'll check back in and then maybe keep adjusting as I go. But thank you so much for the feedback. Because it's, even with recordings, it's kind of hard to capture how it's going to behave over syncing. So, okay, so we are now outside of the musician's gig. And let's start off, as we've started off previously, with talking to our dog. So yeah, so we are Conway currently, and have some interesting options here. It feels a little like home. Man, and then kind of diving into Conway's backstory a little bit. We've had some sad, kind of reminiscent moments with Conway, but I don't know, nothing that would lead me to say it's all bad. Yeah, some of it I don't remember at all. I have tended toward the self-aware, oh yeah, Waiting for Godot. That's actually a really great, connection that, yeah, just totally slipped by me. But yeah, that's really, really great. I haven't actually seen Waiting for Godot in, oh gosh, probably, it's been a long time. Years and years. And yes, the tree by the side of the road, of course, like, as you're saying this, like, of course, it's totally there. It just, yeah, for whatever reason. It's also hard because things weren't super chatty yesterday. We did have a couple of viewers, but people weren't kind of chatting, and I feel like I really do sort of feed off of comments from chat, so it's really, really great to have people engaging with that stuff. But yeah, but you know, at the same time, also, like, I will occasionally miss things. I hope that as you're watching, you're not sort of like throwing popcorn at your screen going, oh, why didn't she say it was this? Because, you know, different academics have different backgrounds, and I think, you know, one's background necessarily sort of shapes the kind of connections that sort of immediately jump out to them. But yes, you're totally right, and it did have this very, like, postmodernist feel, which I didn't really dive into postmodernism as a thing, largely because it's so nasty and contested of what actually gets to be postmodern and what doesn't. But yes, it absolutely. Okay, some of it I don't remember at all. And now kind of our only option is to look at our truck, which was broken down the last time we saw it. And our option here is to move on or stay put. I vote we stay put because we haven't really explored much yet. And yeah, let's kind of look around. The bar door. Kind of late. Are you sure they're open? Sure, they're open. This is one of those places. And give me a minute here. So, we're not saints, but we've kept our appointment. How many people can boast as much? That's lovely, ma'am. Who said it? A poet. Awesome. Yeah, we'll keep going. Yeah, so that's definitely a great point also, Lemony. So I suspected that we were going to see kind of like an escalation in dramatic tension throughout Act 3. Yeah, the trash bin is filled. Several pairs of working shoes, a few hats, and a small Ziploc bag with 3 pairs of eyeglasses. I should also say thank you for watching the replay videos. That is really awesome. It means a lot. And having kind of explored things out here, I don't know why, but something about this parallax is striking me as particularly beautiful. I fear, unfortunately, because my computer is not the greatest. It's probably coming across choppier in the stream than it is on the game, but it's really lovely. I didn't actually mean to click on that. We're going to stick around. And Act 3 is quite a bit longer, 10 scenes. Okay. Yeah, I kind of tend to look up before I play games, including each of these episodes, how long they are from the website, How Long to Beat, which is like a really awesome website if you're not familiar with it. So it put episode 3 at about 2 hours long. Would you say that's fairly accurate? So normally with streaming, because I'm doing a lot of interruption and talking and stuff, it's usually like 150% of how long to beat thinks it's going to be. But yeah, when you played it, do you feel like it was longer than that? Cool. I just want to explore the space a little bit before I talk to folks. Look at these goggles, maybe. And it's kind of an interesting choice, I think, as the player, that I have adopted this play strategy of kind of looking around before talking to things, or before talking to people, because talking to people is the way that the story seems to advance and seems to be the thing that triggers in-game events. So, you know, it's kind of the interactive fiction approach of, like, looking around and examining things before I actually touch anything. Okay. A bulky set of black goggles sit on the edge of a table next to an ashtray, a newspaper, and a few empty glasses. Huh. What is it? I guess, I don't know. Can I tell you a horrible secret? I never wear eye protection in the shop. It's dangerous, I know, but I'm always looking back and forth from my oscilloscope to whatever I'm working on, and the scope has this peculiar kind of hard-bordered glow that I just... Well, I've never found a pair of goggles or glasses that doesn't smear out that glow. At best, the lens softens everything so you can't quite find the edges. So okay, so 2 hours. Okay. So... Yeah, I wrote a blog post on the Cerebral Arcade blog a while ago about allusions in games, and it seems like in the last couple of years we're really starting to see allusions in games for the first times. And by allusions, I mean, you know, much like literary allusions. And so the argument that I'm making there is kind of that we see allusions and these kind of nods to other forms in other media very, very heavily. There are, whole artistic movements that are reactions to the movement that came before it. And with games, partly perhaps because it's an immature medium, partly because it's seen as kind of this lowbrow medium, it really feels like games are only just starting to kind of use allusions to good effect. And it's very, it's kind of sparsely done. And a lot of times when it is done, it's in this very, like, elbow, haha, did you see what I did there sort of way. Or it's, like, purely only comedy, and comedy of the flavor of, like, hey, I recognize what that's from, that's funny. Where I really love this game because of all the allusions it's making. And part of the argument that I'm making in the blog post, too, is that even when you don't necessarily catch all of the references or all of the allusions, it's still worthwhile, because, obviously we want to cultivate, pleasant experiences without necessarily catching all the references. But it does add this layer of enjoyment, this layer of meaning on top of it. And I think one of the things that I really love about this game is how it's doing that. And there are tons of allusions that I'm not getting, but I have the sense that there is more going on here. There's more depth, right? So like I had that distinct feeling yesterday with the Godot, where it was like, this is familiar, and like this feels like this thing, and whatever, but was not like familiar enough with the play to like immediately catch the reference. But that's okay, because then later when when people are like, oh, did you catch that was this thing? That doesn't take away from it for me. That actually adds to it, where it's like, oh, wow, we have kind of all of these things going on. And then, you do have the odd moment where you are catching the reference, and it makes it feel like you're kind of part of this in-club. But more to the point, it actually like also ties this to a history that's trying to engage with. Like, we've talked a lot so far about a tradition of theater and film and, interactive fiction, and how this is trying to kind of situate itself within those media and within kind of these highbrow forms. And doing allusions is actually like a direct way to engage with that, and also maybe to be in dialogue with the themes of those works that you're referencing. Okay, so we have Harry, our bartender. All I'm pouring tonight is Hard Times whiskey. Yeah, all right. So we can decide between a coffee or a whiskey. Well, let's do the whiskey for sure. Coffee, right, old man? And I'll have a Coke. No Coke, no coffee. Hard Times whiskey. Yeah, and then, continuing what we talked about yesterday with this sort of like interrupting our choices before we actually even get to say them, which is definitely an interesting approach that seems to be a little bit different in Act 3 than kind of how that has been handled previously. It's kind of getting more explicit and more insistent about the kinds of choices that we have. Say, shut the GD door, will you? I can't afford to run the AC all night. Sorry, Harry. Oh, it's you two. Where have you been? Never mind. Listen, I can't keep this place open through the small hours of the night just waiting for musicians. And now we have Junebug. Gets lonely, doesn't it? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I want to hear some music for sure. But there's no one here to listen to it. We brought some people, Harry. A crowd is forming. Yeah, but also couldn't you use a break? Wouldn't you want to hear some music? Don't you trust me? I like that these are all kind of these like rhetorical question manipulative responses a little bit. Let's see. Been on my feet all day, but okay, we actually have movement happening in the scene, which is unusual for this game. A little bit of like on-stage blocking, it felt like. Okay, and my chat has gotten like a little covered by the window here, so I'm gonna try to fix you really quick, chat. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. The scene is little Eugene O'Neill. Okay. Yeah, so I didn't play the supplemental material. And I talked about doing that on the stream. But also, as I was saying yesterday, I think I'm kind of getting to a point where I would like to look at other games in conversation with this game. So I am a little bit tempted to kind of push through this, and because this is an episodic piece, maybe return to some of that stuff when Act 4 comes out, which theoretically is supposed to be soon, right? maybe go from there. So yeah, I would also be interested in hearing a bit more, for people that are more familiar with the game, I would be interested in hearing more about how you feel some of the supplemental stuff, I don't want to say how it's in dialogue with us, because, you know, that's pretty clear, but how does it function kind of as, like, pieces that are possible to read kind of at different times, or play at different times. And that might be something that I'm interested in. So, like, do you feel like it is really, really imperative that it's played at a certain point before this act, for example? Or do you feel like it's the kind of thing that is, you know, like the Silmarillion, you would probably enjoy it if you're into Lord of the Rings lore. You know, it's kind of wholly separate. I'd be kind of interested in that response. Okay, so here we are setting and yeah, with no audio or anything, and not much to actually do. Huh. You can basically play in any order. Cool. Okay. It feels like there should be audio happening right now. Is there... Am I missing something? And if not, then what is that trying to sort of say right now? Maybe restart the scene. Okay. It's glitched. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna try to restart it. Yeah, so I will say, this game has these moments where it is really clear, like, you could never... This is not a game that would be made in AAA. It's too, like, novel and unproven and scary for the kinds of things that AAA is generally interested in. It definitely, though, there are times when it feels a little bit like the indiness shows through. So sometimes that's glitches like this. The main one that I see is in actually the kind of lack of recapping that happens between acts. So, you know, these acts were released months and months apart, and part of the reason that I even started playing this over from the beginning was the fact that I didn't actually remember what was happening in Act 1, and there was no, like, recapping feature, really. So that's just kind of one thing. Also in the way that it saves states when you exit. So, like, okay, yay, we have audio now. So, like, sometimes you restart from the beginning of the scene, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you get kind of a refresher of where you are. Like, when I started it today, I didn't get scene 3, or Act 3, scene 3, so I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure what scene I'm on now. But yeah. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, I think that's a really good point. You know, I think one possible way to do that is procedurally, actually. Okay, good. Thanks for stopping by, Leggy. I think you could do it procedurally. You can do images of various points of the game, particularly points where you feel like the player focused a lot of attention. You could do... I don't know. I think Life is Strange does a really great job of it. And this is even more linear than Life is Strange. So, Life is Strange, you know, is, of course, much more cinematic than this game is, but at kind of the beginning of each episode, it gives you kind of this, like, key points, like, flashing recap thing, which would be kind of cool to have in something like this. Because even if you're not sort of explicitly saying, like, hey, you read this thing, or whatever, you could at least kind of do, like, the high points, I think, of each act. And maybe make it optional. Like, maybe don't force the player to sit through it. But that is one very small nitpicky thing that I feel like I'm missing in terms of design from this game. Okay. Back to Johnny. Ma'am, I hate to say it, but the cover's bare. Junebug. Have some vision, Cricket. We've got 1, 2, 4 patrons. Harry doesn't count. Well, we've done more with less. And I'm kind of interested in, you know, Conway's sort of wistful... I haven't been in a bar since, so we'll give that one a shot. Gave it up, huh? Well, I bet Harry has some coffee back there, but I won't vouch for the quality. He's a connoisseur. She's a connoisseur. Johnny's favorite regional cuisine is gas station. Oh, there's a sandwich on the table. A rough brick between 2 pieces of stale bread sits on the center of a table, surrounded by a ring of undisturbed dust. And yeah, I've talked a bit about it before, but I do really love kind of the combination of the abstract minimal visuals with the text that is actually, you know, describing in words what theoretically you can see on the screen, but you can't actually see it very well. Partly because of style, and partly because of lighting, and partly, you know, because of how far it is away. Ezra flips eagerly through the jukebox's catalog of songs. And Ezra doesn't know how to play this game. I didn't comment, I was too busy talking before about allusions, but I really sort of like Ezra as this like meta character stand-in for the player sort of thing. All I'm pouring tonight is Hard Times whiskey. Okay. Well, the good news is we actually can kind of immediately see some different dialogue options. Okay. Had to clear out... And I'm kind of just picking at random here. Well, I trust you, Junebug, but Yeah, so definitely did not get the, like, robot noises coming from them when they walk. So that's kind of, interesting and different. I'm glad that we have, a, actual audio this time. Yeah, how's it looking out there? How are y'all feeling tonight? Can we get a bit more reverb in the monitors? Adjust the soundboard behind the bar. How's that? Test, test. 1, 1, 1, 3, 50. Lamentation. Lamentation. Sounds good. How's everybody doing? Anyone had a real bad night? How about you, old man? Not too bad. You know, despite our truck breaking down and all these terrible things happening, I'm gonna go ahead and say not too bad. It's a song I heard in the tavern many years ago at an open mic night. Me and Johnny were just out riding around, you know. You like to drive around, old man? Yeah, that's where I feel at home. Of course you do. So we were out riding around and we passed this gaudy old tavern. I mean, it was a real dive, busted up facade. Weeds in the parking lot. Taps all dry. Bats in the bar room. And run by this creaky bag of bones. Looked like the only thing keeping him awake was fear of death. So glad to be back here at the lower depths. So we stopped for an early drink, and there was a lady singing right here on stage, and the song she sang, well, it stuck with us, and now it's a regular part of our repertoire. Never got that lady's name, but she seemed like a sweet gal, and she had a voice like Scotch whiskey. So we just hope we do her song justice. So here it is, Too Late to Love You. And yay, this time with audio! Wow, this is insanely beautiful. Oh, man. So I love the typeface here. It makes me feel a lot of pressure, though, because, like, I don't know that whatever I choose is going to be beautiful enough for this song, but let's do it. Wow, this is incredible. Yeah, also hi Floop Goop. Yeah. Oh my god. I feel like I need to, like, learn this song now and, like, sing it in my real life. This is amazing. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, so from a music standpoint, it's giving me the option, right, to sort of choose the next verse. And I love the way that it kind of has, like, dropped off into this, like, other interlude, so that even if I take a really long time to answer, it doesn't feel sort of out of place or have messed up the timing. It's, yeah, wow, okay. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah. I'm just kind of choosing one. But this is seriously so cool. Man, now I'm really curious. If you get in the truck and you drive away, do you just miss this whole thing? That like makes me sad just thinking about it. This is so far like my favorite moment in the game. This is absolutely incredible. It's linear? Okay. I was gonna say, that would be such a shame. So I mean, you know, as an author of interactive narrative, you do sort of just author a lot of stuff that you expect people are gonna miss sometimes. And this game definitely seems like there are a lot of things that are sort of, like, tucked into corners that would be super easy to miss. But it also feels like, as an indie studio, if you're spending the money to have this song produced, you really want people to see it, and yeah, this is just amazing. Oh, I'm kind of sad that the resolution has cut this one off a little. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Etsina. Like, slowly building up a collection of video game music with, like, really strong female vocals. Because I do really enjoy singing. It's also really great how, like, just a little bit of movement keeps this from feeling too sort of, like, static. Just a little bit of camera rotation and the skybox sort of rotating. It's enough to make this feel like it's moving and very dynamic, and yeah, wow. And the roof's coming back now. Oh my gosh, and then we just sort of stand up. We don't even clap. It's just, yeah, here. Okay, well, hope you liked it. Man, as the player, I don't want any of these to be my response. I wanna, like, hug the band. Okay, kind of sad, isn't it? I guess, seems like the less confrontational one? I don't know, they both seem kind of confrontational. Okay, kind of. Listen, we appreciate you folks sticking around for the show. There's nothing more wretched than playing sad songs to an empty room. We've just got to get our fee from Harry, and then we'll get you headed to the, 0. Well, Harry, I think that went pretty well. I'd say the crowd was into it. Reverential. Wrapped. So I guess the usual fee is about right, and we'll let you get back to your business. Well, it's just the... Damn it, I was trying to tell you to. I can't pay. They cleaned me out. I've got nothing left but a GD IOU from the distillery. An IOU. Yeah, I traded them for some whiskey, so I guess I had some surplus credit, so I got this note to get some more from them later on. Must have been a hell of a trade. I had to. Gotta keep this place open somehow. Watch your language, Harry. Yeah, I guess we want to look out for the musicians. Well, very contemporary, very astute. How about it, Harry? Let's push some paper around. Well, it's just, I can collect it. I can collect on it here when they bring more whiskey up. But for you to cash in, you'd have to go down to, you know, down to the distillery, down to Hard Times. And you know, you gotta take the 0. So that's what we'll do. How do we get there? Are you folks sure you want to head down there? I've never been myself, but people hear things, rumors. I want to ask both of these, or respond in both of these, I guess. I will ask about Dogwood Drive. Dogwood? Got a letter, did you? I've got a stack of them. Well, okay, sounds like the 0's your only course now. Harry, you're alright. The idea is that Conway has heard the song before. Yeah. Yeah, it seems to have been a thing up to now that these responses are kind of indications also of exposition of the story as well. So I will be interested in seeing how that plays out. If only you got a radio in your car? Yep. Well, here's what you've got to do. Take a left out of the parking lot, and then you just fiddle around on your dial until you hear something familiar, familiar but strange. You know the feeling? Like, I used to go hunt with my uncle out in the mountains, and now I watch these nature programs. They're filmed in the mountains, and there's the deer, and I know all the plants and every kind of tree, but something just doesn't look right. It's even stranger for being so close to familiar. Something like that. You'll know it when you hear it. Fix that strange familiar station on your dial, drive for a bit, and then turn around when the station cuts out. I mean, right then. Hope you folks find what you're looking for, eventually. Always a pleasure, Harry. Okay. Alright, so since we have more people here, some of whom are actually pretty familiar with this, once again, can we talk about how cute this little icon is? It's so cute. Okay, okay, so we want to put something strange but familiar on the radio. Except I kind of forgot where we're, like, actually going while we do that. And I did want to ask, since we have more people in chat today, if there are, like, hidden things on the radio. Oh my gosh, that's really creepy. Station doesn't quite match the bartender's description. Definitely weird, though. Let's keep scanning. He said we'd know it when we heard it. Interesting. I like that the game kind of gives you that little feedback. Yeah, it does look a little bit ASCII, like in Candy Box. That's a really good point. What's this station? I've never heard this before. Sounds like horses. Horses running? A race? Charlie. He was your boss's kid, right? The one who, yeah, must be some memories there. Well, that fits familiar but strange for me. Harry said we'd just drive until it cuts out. Ooh. The horses. Alright, we're back in one of these weird space sort of things. Just gonna kind of explore the space a little bit. Since Hollow Mountain King. Oh, okay. I was not expecting that to take us to progression. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the bridge. Not looking so good. Bridge ends abruptly, crumbling in disrepair. Okay, there's a boardwalk. We can talk to our dog, which I absolutely love doing. And these talking to the dog moments, they do kind of feel a bit like theatrical asides, right? Like we're sort of being with Conway as he just kind of goes off to the side and talks to himself. I like that they sort of done that in a way that makes a little bit more sense by saying that it's your dog. Time to cut him loose, man. Let's ask you, bored. Nah, it's a slow night anyway. I'm happy just tagging along. Okay, let's head up the boardwalk. Okay, so there's a rope. A loop of decayed rope is coiled on the banister. Some rotted sections have been smoothed over with fine dust. Okay. So this is a really interesting way of computers. Okay, that feels weird. So this is a really interesting way of kind of showing more of the walkable space kind of as we ascend into this mist. Computers, another example in this game of kind of things that feel like they don't belong where they are. Computer monitors are heaped precariously among the rocks. Okay. Yeah, so like as the mist is kind of receding there, it really changes the things that are clickable, which is again just like a really interesting way to do that. A pet carrier for a cat or small dog has been left by the path. A calcified rag wadded in the corner may once have been a blanket. Okay. It's kind of interesting because it feels a little bit puzzly, like trying to push far enough so that the game will reveal the next kind of like walkable area. You think it's meant to be set in the late 90s or early aughts? You know, I hesitate to answer the question, and the reason is that it feels like it is kind of intentionally trying to obscure when it's set. maybe some anachronisms, but that's what makes the most sense. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's one of these things that's like really resistant to placing in a time. I think that's very intentional. So like I think I mentioned it on one of the previous streams, but I had sort of assumed that we were like 80s, 90s until somebody whipped out a cell phone. Now that cell phone was described to be like brick size, but still it felt strange, because it was clearly at a time when like cell phones were not the ubiquitous norm. But yeah, but then on the other hand, like, the TVs are really old. Like, they're, you know, TVs from the 60s or 70s. That whole, like, housing community inside the museum gallery also felt, like, really weird, and parts of it felt strangely modern. But then parts of it didn't. Some of the shots have established themselves in kind of this like surveillance way that suggests modernity, but then like, you know, then we have kind of a lack of technology. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's as good a guess as I might have. But yeah, I do think that the game is very intentionally obfuscating what time it's supposed to take place in. Some friends and I recently watched It Follows, the horror movie, and so It Follows does kind of like a similar thing where it seems like most of the cars and appliances and stuff are very much like from like 70s, 80s, and it's a film that's trying to put itself in dialogue with kind of like Carpenter era films. And then you have this girl who has not just a cell phone, but like a cell phone in a makeup compact thing that like doesn't exist as we would use cell phones now. So it's like that one detail like completely kind of destroys your sense of when the thing actually is happening. And I feel like there are a lot of details in this game that are doing that for me. A stack of like huge monitors on the side of this boardwalk is just another example of like those details that are feeling really weird and out of place for me. A hiking backpack leans against a rock. It's empty except for a dusty bag of cat food and a few punch cards. Right, so like who's carrying around punch cards, you know? And then we can look up this fire. Was the burr in response to It Follows Floop? Okay. Okay, we had an abrupt music change there. I can't click on the fire again. Okay. I really love these moments where the camera kind of rotates around a space in this way that kind of undermines the way that you've been using the space and interacting with it up to that point. We've seen that several times now, but every time it happens, it just it's this moment of kind of pleasure for me. Okay. Amy says, "Oh, it's triangles within triangles down here. Shifting, intersecting, overlaying. Isn't it romantic? Let's see." Yeah, that feels like a pretty clear reference to, like, polygons. Maybe also to modernist art. You're here to steal back the love of a boy you once knew when you were too young to recognize the moments of the heart. And you're escorting her, pretending to have her interest at heart, while really, you're in love with the young woman as well, so you've agreed to help him conspire to win her affections, but it's just a ploy to set him up for embarrassment and diminish him out of the picture. Yeah, kind of, feels like a bit of a jab at romance and games. It feels also like this is a reference that I'm not getting, but yeah, I love both of these responses. And it's both the women. So I kind of want to go with Junebugs just to be a little bit provocative. Okay. Well, maybe I still have the knack. I used to be really good at this. I had 11 novels published, from The Billionaire's Bidding to Fields of Longing. Real hot, bodice-ripping stuff. I miss those days in my Lexington studio apartment, just me and my thesaurus steaming up the windows. Yeah, why did you stop writing? You know, suddenly it was all computers everywhere you went. I thought I might be able to do something with that. Inject a little libido into those ugly beige boxes. Ha! So I went back to the university and I studied human-computer interaction, and then I picked up Donald's research assistantship here as a tester debugging. Okay, let's see where this is going. In my off hours, I played with the doomed love story at the core of our little simulation. That seemed to amuse Donald, so I kept at it. I'm afraid I tinkered too much, made it too complex. Now our work is never done. We don't even have to add any new functionality. The bugs just grow on their own. Too complex. I miss those days in my Lexington studio apartment. Okay, so as somebody who's interested in human-computer interaction, yeah, I kind of wish I knew more about that. I feel like there's a bit of like backstory that I wanna dive into. Woman in a tattered cardigan looks furtively at the other people around the fire. Okay. Can we look at the fire? Oh, that's just moving us. But only slightly. Okay. Yeah, maybe let's talk to this old man. Donald puffs on a smoldering pipe while half mumbling, half singing an old country tune. Where the old green river runs through hills and caves not known to us, down to that sunless sea. Oh, who are you? Sorry, did we startle you? And what's that song? Oh, you caught a verse of my absent-minded warbling. It's just a song from my youth. Something a dear friend used to sing to herself as we hacked on crystal radios in the boiler room. And curious chat, if you know where that song actually is from. An old Kentucky where my love, a lonely home did build for me, and where the old green river runs through the hills and caves not known to us, down to that sunless sea. From there on, it's all meandering rivers and romantic greenery. And that is... What were we talking about? Okay. So, yeah, let's ask about the computer. It looks pretty vintage. Looks like a harmless old computer, doesn't it? Just some beat-up mainframe exhumed from a university basement and left in this cave to rot or to flower. No, it's no ordinary computer. I've modified it extensively. In some pretty experimental ways, believe you me. But that's to say nothing of the software, but... You look like a technically minded sort of person. Tell me, do you know the effects of mold growth on diffuse-based transistor circuitry? Yeah, that doesn't sound good. I also think the mold would burn up. And possibly it would short circuit. Exactly, it burns, and oh, the sweet smoke that issues from it. But it also leaves a sticky residue to seep through the machine, forming new connections and creating new circuits. The computer is no longer the pure domain of language or mathematics, but entropy. Kind of interesting. Kind of makes me want to, like, do an art project around that sort of thing. Surely somebody has done that already. Third and feeble, we hammer on this derelict keyboard. My name is Reason, King of Kings. But we are mere tourists in the ruins. Our keystrokes echo off the tunnels. Boundless and bare, the caves stretch far away. We are too late. Always too late. What? Did you say something? I kind of, yeah, man, both of these things. I am interested in the mold computer, but I also want to know about the software. Okay, as a programmer, I will do the software thing. Oh, the software, my life's work. Xanadu, you've heard of it. So, wow, Wow. Okay. So clearly this is a reference to Ted Nelson's Xanadu project. He actually, now that I'm like explicitly looking for that, he actually kind of talks like Ted a little bit. So funny enough, looking at his image there, I kind of first thought he looked like the next part is from the poem Ozymandias. I thought he kind of looked a little bit like George R.R. Martin, not even gonna lie. Probably incidental. But yeah, okay. The software, my life's work, Xanadu. Perhaps you've read about it in a journal. It's been years since I published anything. Ouch! Xanadu has evolved significantly since I explained its data structures in Literary Multitudes, Hypertextual Narrative as Post-Structural Witness. Okay, this is uncomfortable. Alright, evolved and then deteriorated. Donald sighs dramatically and takes a puff from his pipe. I'm afraid you are too late, fellow hypertext enthusiast. As the mold accumulated on the circuitry, Xanadu blossomed for a moment into something holy and enchanted. Then all the charm was broken. Oh my god, this is like blowing my mind. This moment, it feels very much like probably the thing that some of my friends who are also into interactive narrative were kind of like, no, but Stacey, you have to play this. And I think that's because of my hypertext background. So Ted Nelson's Xanadu project. Okay, my version of the history of it, not that I was there for it, but from my understanding, Xanadu was the theoretical machine that Ted Nelson put forth as creating hypertext. And it included various things that were not happening in computers at all at the time because it was the 60s. But some of those things were like not even put into the web eventually. So some of the stuff he talked about were things like I believe he talked about conditional links, like so links that would only happen if you made certain choices. He talked about situations where like you where if I had a Xanadu page and you had a Xanadu page and you wanted to cite my Xanadu page, what would actually happen is a kind of link that he called an occlusion that would actually directly insert one page into another. So if you wanted to cite my page, it would literally take my the code behind mine and put it into yours, so that if I updated it, then that would filter throughout. So basically it was acting like an alias. And he also coined the term microtransactions at the same time, talking about this system in terms of how citations could be managed and how you could pay creators for their content through microtransactions. And yeah, it was this kind of like, perfect, beautiful theoretical system, and he started trying to build it, and it never really came to fruition in the way he wanted. There was finally something released that resembled it, and that he called Xanadu, that was released a couple of years ago now, and it was kind of this big thing that, Xanadu had finally shipped. But in the meantime, the web came about, and, there was sort of so much critical mass behind the web that even though it didn't sort of live up to these things that, were sort of the dream and ideal of hypertext, it still kind of won out. So I really love kind of likening that to this system of, this holy and enchanted thing that like worked for a second but then didn't, and now the spell is broken, right? Do you have any idea what it's like to spend your life building something and then sit powerlessly as your work declines into ruin? It's also a little uncomfortable for me because I've met Ted several times. I wouldn't say like I know him well or anything, but I know him well enough, and so it's a little uncomfortable to see this kind of tragic character put into this game that is basically this person, you know. It's really weird. Okay, so alright, yeah, and of course, so what do we want to say? I'm kind of like in a totally different headspace now. God, these are all so sad. I mean, I feel like it's not gonna matter. Shuffling around the dusty ghosts of antiquity. Well, I have my own ghosts, and I keep them in there, in Xanadu. It's running on that glorious dusty machine. Take a look if you'd like. Too late to do anything but smoke and reminisce. Anyway, far too long to do anything. I really recommend, if you feel like augmenting this discussion, have a look at a talk by Ted Nelson online. His talks are very deeply personal, and, you know, you sort of do get the sense when you see him talk that he carries around a lot of baggage with him about, like, these glories that could have been. And, you know, he has a very particular way of kind of speaking in this very anecdotal sort of thing. Meanders a bit. His writing's like that too. It's very readable, really interesting. But yeah, it is interesting but also uncomfortable how this character is kind of interfacing with that real person. Okay. Well, let's talk to Andrew. Okay, Andrew says, do you know that when I first... No, I mean, if this cave were larger, could it... Now I'm getting my head of myself. Excuse me. I've got it. How would you characterize this space, the one we're standing in? I'm interested in where this is going. Let's go, it's a mess. A catastrophe, or the site of some ancient catastrophe anyway. Sure, the evidence is all around us. I bet those tunnels are full of junk. The shadows make it hard to tell how big it is, or what's burning on that fire. Now let's talk about the tunnels. We're surrounded by them. Look at that one, up there. Do you know what? No. Let me explain what's in that tunnel. You won't be scared. Close your eyes. Will you close your eyes? Alright, we'll go with Junebug's sort of flirtatious answer. Okay, I can do it from memory. Good, now. I like the simulation of us closing our eyes there. It's really great. You're standing at the top of a rocky peak. A tongue of flame licks the shadowy anatomies of... Where are we? Oh, here again. How disappointing. Yeah, sorry to disappoint. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't be so attached to the future. It's always getting in the way of my work. Better to be in the moment, carefully observing and documenting with no attachment. Let me give you an example. I was a grad student. I was actually just about to say before this paragraph got here that, like, this whole area feels kind of like an indictment of the academy and academic research. I was a grad student studying statistics when I started working with Donald on his project. He said we needed someone with a more analytical mind to do the descriptive writing. Someone who would appreciate the cave descriptions as real labor instead of taking their authorial voice for granted. Okay. Donald warned me it would be long hours of typing painstakingly detailed descriptions into the computer, and I've put in the hours. Believe me, I've put in the hours. I've described every facet of this cave in such detail that sometimes I don't know if I'm reading or looking, writing or exploring. Often in the dark and lonely moments, I worry that in my sleep I've transcribed rooms from my dreams into the system. Okay, I'm gonna tell you an uncomfortable story that's kind of tying into this whole thing. How would we know? They could only be entered with precise, faithful detail. That's all I know how to write. And all I dream about is caves. I only dream of caves. Yeah, I think Plato's allegory of the cave is totally an apt connection. There's, I don't know, I feel maybe I shouldn't say some of this stuff on stream. So, yeah, I think, man. Okay, well, anyway, there feels like a bit of an attack here on the relationship of researchers and their students in academia, in a way that feels particularly pointed at the Xanadu project. It feels a little bit like a pretty strong attack there. I've had several friends at different universities who have worked with TED, who have all to varying degrees kind of worked on implementing the Xanadu system, and for various reasons their work has not been integrated into the system, or not been up to various standards and things. So yeah, this is a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, man. Okay. But yes, it does feel like there's a bit of poking at IF, kind of the dark and twisty passages. I love the kind of like stuttering over, what words to say as we all closed our eyes. What words will actually sort of bring about the descriptions that people want. Also, I talked a little bit in the last stream about like the article that's going around right now about people having mental images, and that moment also just kind of reminded me about that a bit. Nobody was really in the stream to talk to me about it yesterday, but I am curious for people if you guys in chat can see images in your mind, and if so, or if not, like, what is your experience of reading? Like, do you have moments, in games like this? Like, I talked a bit yesterday about how, because the image was sort of dissonant with the mental image that was being created with the text, it kind of had the effect of putting me in two places at the same time. But I kind of wonder if that would be the same for people that, are maybe you don't see images so strongly in their heads. Yeah, and I do, like, it does hit a little bit close to home for me also that, that's, like, the two sort of grad student figures here are, kind of, burnt out and overworked and, like, maybe not living their best lives. A massive gate constructed out of scavenged material blocks the passage down the far side of the spire. So this is this moment that feels very video game, in a way that, like, much of this game really has not. This very intentional door that is shut, and, put up to sort of, like, block out this other area of interest. So, yeah, let's talk to Roberta. I'm basically doing everything I can to not click on Xanadu right now. I sort of want to save that for last, and I am feeling a little bit of anxiety at the risk that I'm not going to be able to click on it, but I also don't want to miss content. Roberta says, the kingdom is in peril. Well, what else is new? And I love having the different characters here to offer these two totally different responses. It's something I haven't pointed out, but I did notice earlier. I really like the, with one character, giving these radically different responses might feel kind of weird or dissonant. Having two different characters allows you to kind of have Conway's response, and also Ezra's a bit more fantastical one, which is the one I'm going to go with, because I haven't gone with an Ezra response in a little while. You're in the Throw Room. There are 3 legendary treasures hidden throughout the castle that will restore these ruins to their former glory. I want to ask if she works here, but I kind of want to keep this going, too. She's messing with you, kid. Aw, Shannon put a stop to that. Enchanted jewelry, talismans, a magic mirror that prevents the future, a magic shield that protects the bearer from age, a magic chest that's always filled with... yeah, this definitely does have, like, a very Zork, kind of thing. I never went to university. I was an independent scholar. It means I took to public libraries like a beachcomber. I studied fairy tales. Yeah, man, like, this whole academia thing, I don't know, where is this going? And then I came to work for Donald. I paid the bills, rubbed leathering elbows with academics, scraped black mold from cave walls. Finally, now I carry the firewood into citizens. The kingdom is in peril. Yeah, and this whole the kingdom is in peril, that feels like maybe a reference to the state of academia. I mean, we've had different characters here that each are kind of like different facets of academics, right? So we have kind of the tenured, graybeard scholar. We have like the grad students that are being taken advantage of. We have this independent scholar, and yeah, Floop, you're totally right. Independent scholar sounds awful romantic, but independent scholar doesn't actually pay the bills most of the time. So it's like it's an interesting move from a game like this, I think, because this is a game that is very intentionally putting itself into this kind of like highbrow tradition that is like espoused by academia, right? So I'm kind of interested in its critique of academia at the same time. A woman in a long, worn shirt stares at the fire, lost in thought. Okay, and then there's Xanadu. You never really read too much into this part, but it is quite a combination of academia. Yeah, it really is. Baffling control panels are sheltered from elements with a worn tarp. A closet-sized wall of knobs and wires looms behind the machine, humming faintly. An electric typewriter is the only easily recognizable component. And, I think that condemnation is actually not without some merit, right? Like, there are certainly institutions within academia that make it really easy to take advantage of people, students, people that are kind of addicted to external achievement. There's certainly this culture and expectation of putting in lots of extra work and, expecting to have no family, no work-life balance, things like that. And on top of that, paying less and less, and academia is in a place right now where it's producing more and more PhD students with fewer and fewer academic jobs when they come out of them. Now, for some fields, they have industry options for PhDs, so like I'm really fortunate to be a computer science PhD, where if I decide not to become an academic for whatever reason, I do have other research options, like any of the large, tech companies, or anything in data science or whatever. Actually having an AI background kind of puts me in a good place. But if you're doing like this kind of research, or arts research, or humanities research, it's dicey and it's difficult, and there are increasing positions for an increasing number of positions for people to move into outside of academia that are kind of colloquially called alt-ac positions. But it's not really talked about enough from within academia, I think. It's talked about at the level of, professors talking among themselves for like, oh, what are we going to do? We have all these students. But it's not really acknowledged very much within graduate communities in my experience, and certainly it's a very taboo thing between advisors and students. So, there are definitely, like, really real qualms with academia, and that's not even getting into, like, gatekeeping issues from, like, class and gender and race and, all of these things, or this kind of, curatorial ivory tower thing that happens. So, if we read this as an attack, there is definitely an argument that this game, is potentially making about, being outside of academia and still engaging with the traditions that academia is trying to engage with. So, you can be this kind of low art form games, and still be engaging with, this rich academic history, this history of culture, theater, film, all those sort of like artistic traditions that we've been talking about up to this point. Okay. Let's check it out. Alright, how do you think we get it started? This old thing? Maybe there's a hand crank around. Oh, it has a run key. Xanadu. This I'm really interested in. Whoa. At Den of Ardo. Okay. So, let's talk about this. This is super interesting. Okay, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Sorry, sometimes doing criticism like on the fly like this is actually kind of hard. Okay, so we have a couple of things kind of intermixed on top of each other. We have, you're standing at the end of a road. There's, which is an homage to Zork. There are these kind of like letters interspersed on top of this, which has the effect of suggesting certain words without actually having to say those words. So, like, we have, like, my eye is sort of drawn to this as the word future, even though it's not there. My eye was drawn to this as the word stalling, even though that word's not there. And yeah, so you have kind of, my eye was drawn to this as dying, which I can't really explain why, because there really aren't enough letters there. But it's this kind of like having multiple layers and meanings kind of all interspersed on top of each other. I like try blowing on it as a response. Typical how to fix an NES. Okay. Conway blows some dust off the keyboard and presses the return key. I'm a little not sure how to parse this one. But again, there's, like, it feels like so many things being pulled. Okay, that's worse. Kind of looks like a house type house. Yeah, let's try that. And this looks like that's not a recognized command, which is the sort of fail condition. Oh, thank you, Floop. That's so nice of you to say. Sorry, the fail condition of IF games, right? Yeah. Now we have Lua. Donald. Oh. Inventor. Got I think the machine having a really hard time. Interesting that this just kind of keeps going. Damn, I can't tell what she's saying. Oh, I have my portable degosser with me. Old systems like this can build up a remnant magnetic field that sort of warps everything along whatever pattern it's settled into. The degosser clears all that by suddenly shaking the magnetic field around until it's uniform again. That's how I like to think of it anyway. Like shaking a snow globe. Let's try it. Let's stick a magnet on it. That'll be great. Hall of the Mountain Gink. There's those sexy triangles in there. Alright. Well, okay. This is where you set up your... This is a lost cause. What a piece of junk. Poor Xanadu indeed. Bizarre. And what was that about Lua? Maybe Donald knows how to clear it up a bit. What happens if we click on it again? Baffling control panels are sheltered from the elements of the warm tarp. Okay. Electric typewriter is the only easily recognizable component. So I really liked the visuals of the screen. It was kind of the same visuals as like the computer model from the 60s that I should remember the name of, but don't. And yeah, it does have this kind of this sense of there being more going on there than you sort of know how to deal with, but also of like kind of failure when you get down to it. I was beginning to think it'd be this grand reinterpretation of Nelson's Grand Machine ideas. Yeah, I kind of did too. I was kind of interested if maybe they were just going to have like implemented Xanadu in there, and then then we have this thing. There'll be more Xanadu. Cool. But it feels a bit like a critique of academic research and academic systems, which kind of do often have this property where they make you feel like you sort of don't get what's going on, but that you should, and that there's more to it if only you just kind of understood, but like on its surface very much sort of feels a bit like a disappointment, a bit like a failure. Chalky bones of a beautiful dream, but you can see what it once was, can't you? Can't you? There was so much more to it. Ornate labyrinths of memory, exhaustively simulated parallel cave ecosystems, real artificial intelligence built on sophisticated neural network algorithms. The birds in the forest could flock in 3 dimensions. The bats could learn to sing. Funny that now, like, neural network algorithms are, like, not that big a deal. And then it began to crumble when the strangers came. At first, we only heard them, walking heavily through the caves, dragging things around, hammering and clattering their tools. Sometimes we heard working songs, never close enough to make out real voices, just their echoes cascading wordlessly in the tunnels. Then we got a glimpse of one. What were we working on? I shouldn't be telling you about this. They're dangerous, they're strange. I should never have tried to outwit them, but they're always too much for me. But it's too late now. If I'd listened to Lula, Lula? Lula Chamberlain? Yes, of course. Oh, do you know her? We're looking for her now. No, she's gone now. She left. We built this together, did you know? Lula, Joseph, and I. Lula is gone from here, but still in there, in Xanadu. Oh, sophisticated neural network algorithm. My mistake. I don't know where Lula is now, or how to get there from here, or how to unwind that damn tangled highway. But Xanadu, before it's ruined, was faultless as an oracle, a shrine to perfect simulation. Yeah, and this all feels a bit like another jab at Ted and his visions for Xanadu as the perfect internet, basically. Those weird interlopers destroyed my Xanadu. Perhaps they know how to fix it. It may be dangerous. I've spent many eager seconds to negotiate with them to repair my masterpiece. Back there, that tunnel. Push back the vines, crawl out into the darkness. Watch your step. After a while, you'll feel the terrain change beneath your hands and knees, from rock to crystal, then to mud. Then you'll be out. That's where the strangers come from. Now leave me alone. I still have a bit of mold in my pipe, and a few dreams left. Where the strangers come from. How's it going, chat? Gone quiet on me a little bit. How's your day? Oh man, very slowly rotating camera. Having kind of another moment where I'm not sure if it's frozen. I can click on stuff. Oh, there we go. Oh. Wow. Love the, like, long shot delay there. That's really great. Well, this can't be right. Looks like an old church. Oh, I totally was clicking. Yeah. It's muddy. Yeah, that's what he said. Crystals and then mud. Okay. Ezra wants to stay outside. Why? I think I saw a lizard. I'll stay with him. Okay, we'll make it quick. Oh man, okay. We'll make it quick, but then you have so many headstones for me to look at, and I'm gonna look at them all because that's what I do. Epitaph is engraved on the stone. Grave marker. Rodolfo, generous disposition, will be missed. Huh. Ryan Haynes and James Schmatz. I think you two would really have liked each other. I'm curious if these are... okay. I was gonna say, these feel like names of, like, developers or something. Yeah, Kickstarter, that totally makes sense. Aftertaste of rainwater. I'm kind of interested in what these fill dates are. Okay. Would have wanted it this way. We're gonna head up. Or maybe not. Maybe I am gonna look at all of the headstones. It seems like a really interesting design decision, though, to force the player to look at the headstones. I suspect I don't actually have to, but... sense of foreboding. Unknown. Seemed reasonable. Alright. Easy on the nose. Let's talk to June Bug. Find any lizards? I wasn't really looking. Nice cover story, kid. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about all of these. I haven't really opened any questions to chat, so maybe I will open this question to chat. Yeah, so it's both refreshing and, like, as a player, mildly frustrating to have to click through all of the people on the gravestones to have to get to this dialogue option. But yeah, I mean, from a backer's perspective, like, that would be really nice, right? So yeah. Chat delay is so long. Okay. Okay. If I don't get an answer soon. Have to be near Junebug. Ah, gotcha. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. Cool. Okay. That definitely makes me feel a little bit better. I'm like, yeah, that can't possibly be a thing. Okay. Alright. If I don't get a chat soon, I'm just gonna ask if it's a boyfriend. We're doing it. Okay. No, what's a boyfriend anyway? It's a word people use because everyone else does. Doesn't mean anything to me. He's my cricket. See? It means something. It's specific. I want to be specific. I think you are. It's the middle of the night, and here you are in a graveyard. Any other kid your age would be off to bed. Just gotta make choices. I think I was born this foxy. I came off the assembly line about a half-foot shorter and all gray, no eyes. They were gonna have us clearing out the old mine. Doesn't matter what we look like under that rock and water. A bunch of gray shadows shoveling and hammering invisibly at the walls, draining the tunnels. Johnny found some gear, an old tape player. We hid away in an underwater cave and listened to it over and over, and we knew we weren't miners. We had slipped into the road. Just these two featureless shadows, and everything since that night we've been detailing, coloring in, specifying. I feel more like myself every day. And I'm actually going to pick this last option because it feels most in line with the choices that we've had from Ezra so far. Is that right? I'll have to keep an eye on you. Okay. And now let's... Okay. There you are. What'd you find in there? It wasn't... Hey, what's going on? You look flushed, old man. It doesn't matter. Right, okay. We got what we need. Let's go. Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be my computer being really slow, but we do occasionally stream on this on Scholar's Place, so I'm not sure. My connection is super fast, but it does feel like there's a really long delay with chat and like what I'm seeing on screen. So yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. So, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna kind of cut to it and talk to Donald again. Donald singing softly. Trace an orbit around the road and close your eyes with holy dread, for we on mold and whiskey fed and drink the waters down below. We found your strangers. You know how to fix your damn machine, but I'm not sure it was worth it. Soon the visions will return. What have you found? Okay. I'm not sure which one of these to go with. Let's go with unplug it for a while. Unplug it, of course. Restore the software to its initial state. Let it course again through multi circuits, fresh and rejuvenated, ready to thrive. Well then, unplug it. By all means, do not hesitate. Unplug the machine. Alright. Let's go to Xanadu. It's interesting. As an idea, you're clarifying the characters. It's just the same thing the player's doing. Yeah, it's true. And I'm getting a lot more choppiness today than I was previously, too. Okay. Take a peek at Xanadu. Okay, so I'll just unplug it and wait a minute, I guess. Weird. Just following instructions. Here we go. Back to Xanadu. Okay. So I was a little confused by it at first, but I think that the that the kind of trailing mouse here is actually a reference to the, like, way that mice actually used to behave in the past. And I don't know why that totally, like, I just totally missed that the first time we played with it, but yeah, mice used to do that. You're standing at the end of a road before a small brick building. Around you is a forest. Which should we do, guys? Yeah, what should we do? Have like a little Zork in here. Gonna hang out. Sorry. Forest. Alright. Enter forest. That's not something you can enter. Just type a direction. North. That moment was perfect. Alright, we're in the forest now. You're in open forest with a deep valley to one side. Yeah, can we climb a tree? Sure, let's do that. Climb tree. I don't think much is to be achieved by that. Sorry. Can we dig a hole? You can't see any such thing. Pretty limited vocabulary. This is amazing that we're, like, playing Zork and, like, you're in the forest. Hey, it's a maze. South, east, north, west. Oh god, go back south. You're in the forest. Lula is here, soldering replacement components in a small handmade radio. Love, love, love that moment. We talked about it a bit with the other sort of hyperdimensional space maze thing, but I absolutely had this moment of oh my god, we are now lost in the forest maze. And I was like, oh no, go back to the building. And it was like, oh, you're still in the forest. And I was like, no, please let me not be in a maze. And then the game immediately interrupted and was like, no, you're not doing that. Okay. Joseph is here, tapping with a small stylus on a modified pocket braille slate. A small gray kitten, no more than a few weeks old, dozes comfortably on the top of his backpack. I love Oz here, kind of bolded. Maybe he has something to say. Donald, I was just transcribing your footsteps. Sounded like... Joseph runs his finger along the index card he's been tapping on from right to left. Long, weary song, drearily gone, drearily gone. You beat a melancholy shuffle through these woods, Donald. I've been noting down the sounds of the forest with an ear for speech, and an inborn filter for poetry, I suppose, so maybe it's me being melancholy after all. I'm eager to see what makes the poetic subsystem makes of these punch cards. I'm eager to see what the poetic subsystem makes of those punch cards, too. At edge of hole. Whoa, cool vector graphics. You're at the edge of a massive hole. The dirt gives way to rock as the ground sinks into darkness. Computer, tied to your upper back, slickens with sweat in the afternoon sun. The rope slung around your shoulder has slipped under the strap of your backpack, digging uncomfortably against your collarbone. Well, definitely we're going to yell into the pole first and see if there's pirates. I only understand you as far as wanting to yell. What a response. Yell, any pirates down there? No response. Sorry, kid, you're batting 0 today. At least we know there's no pirates, and it's fair. At least we know there's no pirates. Let's check it out first. Well, that's just gonna put us in the hole. The cave walls are too slick to climb safely without assistance. You lose your footing and fall to your death. Yeah, great. Your score was 0 out of a possible 81-92. What? You may continue or quit. I like that Conway is like, yeah, we're continuing. This is happening. Maybe we need to climb down more carefully. Try using the rope to climb down safely. The rope is tied snugly to a tree trunk and down. Your feet slip a few times on the slimy rock, but you remain stable. Lula and Joseph descend carefully after you. In bed quilt. You're in bed quilt, a long east-west passage with holes everywhere. Joseph and Lula remove the computer equipment they're carrying on their backs and begin setting up. That's the last trip, so everything's down here now. Okay. Let's say something back to her. You make an awkward joke. Don't be so morbid. Lula looks pensive. Man, let's, what's the gear they're carrying? Ask Lula about the gear. Sure, Donald, we may as well take inventory. I've got the tape machine and the synthesizer parts we borrowed from the School of Music. It's all tuned up to my voice, so we won't have to type so much. Joseph has his slate and the punch cards he's transcribed from poems we read him, and he's got the typewriter and the tree and the paper tape reader. And you've got the CRT display. How's your back holding up? Let's ask her about the cave. Why are we here? Having second thoughts? I don't blame you. It's unsettling down here. Weird acoustics. Earlier, as we were climbing down, I thought I heard voices for a moment. Or, not voices themselves, but the echoes of voices singing. Some kind of eerie, tuneless working song. Glad I'm not down here alone. Joseph looks uncomfortable. Jealous. Hey Donald, can you help me wire up these generators? I'll assemble the synthesizer, but I could use some help with the serial interface if you have time. You hear an unfamiliar echo from a tunnel to the east. Yeah, I want to help Lula. I don't know, this probably won't play out so well. Thanks, Donald. I can never remember which color lead goes to which pin. Lula begins unpacking a box of wires and terminals. Lula, do you think there are paintings down here? Cave paintings, I mean? Maybe some old pottery shards from the world was young and early men and women huddled in these caves, too. Do you know, I think cultural fossils are the saddest fossils? Sadder than animal remains, I mean. We might come across a petrified mollusk or a partial dinosaur footprint and we say, oh, there was a point of contact here where a body touched the earth and maybe there's a little bit of evidential garbage, but the life who owned that body never cared and has moved on anyway. And that's the end of it. But suppose I shine my lantern on one of these walls and I see a crude painting, thousands of years old. 2 men and a woman, charcoal and blood on rock. Someone put that there to keep something on the rock after she passed. A hope, a relationship, or a moment, a worry, maybe a regret. She made a painting to keep something alive for her, but like that dead mollusk and that itinerant dinosaur, she had to move on. Whatever it was is gone, and now that we're looking at this painting, this dangly copy with no original. You're interrupted by the ominous echo of grating scraping from the east, louder than before. I know, it's your work song. yeah, it's really, really sad, and it kind of, like, reshapes a bit this, simulacrum of Lula inside this machine. Like, it seems pretty clear to me, obviously, that we're, like, sort of descending into the cave that we're currently in, but, it's, like, I don't know, that passage was, like, very sad. Joseph, what the hell is that? Let's check it out. We're in the tunnels. Man, these graphics, though. You rush down the tunnel, with Joseph and Lula close behind. Got kind of intense back there. No wonder they're still thinking about it. Seems real. The tunnel narrows, and soon you find yourself crawling on your hands and knees. Navigating the tunnel gradually becomes more awkward, as smooth rock gives way to jagged and crystalline surfaces. Scratches and taps echo from the end of the tunnel, some short and piercing, some slower and groaning as if dampened by water. The tunnel opens into a large room. In the crystal room. You're in a large, irregular chamber. The walls, floor, and ceiling are covered with crystalline projections. Strangers are here, scraping black mold from the crystals. They look up when you enter. One of them seems about to speak. Finally. Let's listen to what he says. The stranger reaches for a box he's carrying and presses a plastic button. The box whirs to life and and a crackly voice blurts something unintelligible, then slows to a deep gurgle. He looks at his companions momentarily in confused disappointment. Then he returns his awful gaze to you. Joseph flees through a tunnel to the north. Lula flees through a tunnel to the northeast. We can follow Joseph or follow Lula. We've been looking for Lula so far. Lula's headlamp scans across the northeastern passage as you run. Soft shadows loom perplexingly from floor to ceiling. You feel around to distinguish shadows from crystals, but eventually find yourselves cornered. You have hit a dead end. Who are they? You reassure Lula that the strangers are harmless. Are you sure? Maybe you're right. It sounds like they've gone back to work. Alright, let's try to pass them quickly now. Don't make eye contact, then we'll find our way back to the equipment. You were in Bedquilt, a long east-west passage with holes everywhere. Lula is here, panting for breath. Did they follow us? Where's Joseph? She seems pretty scared. May as well wait or search for him. Okay, thanks for joining, Lemony. I probably won't be streaming for too much longer. I just kind of want to get through this this last bit. Okay. Yeah. I know, but never mind. I don't want to think about it. So it's really interesting here that, like, sometimes we have the option, you know, we kind of assume ourselves to be Conway here, but then we're also, like, our choices that we're given are kind of Shannon telling Conway what to type in here, and kind of like those levels of remove. I find really interesting because it's kind of the same thing we have as the player character here. I guess we should wait for Joseph here. This is where he'll go, right? So we'll wait or search for him. Type search. I only understood you as far as wanting to search. We have to be more specific. Search tunnel. You select a tunnel at random. Your lantern illuminates several sets of footprints on the moldy cave floor, but they are impossible to identify. Grab a hold of the rope and slowly climb up. Your day's lecturing on esoteric computer science topics did not prepare you to scale cave walls with rope. Your evenings gathering with friends to roll dice and consult fancifully illustrated charts, however, prepared you for the likelihood that this climb could end badly. You carefully descend back into the cave. I really love that moment. No, I understand that, like, in the Xanadu, like, game thing we're playing, we're Donald, but we are Conway typing in commands, and we, as the player, are Shannon telling, or Ezra telling Conway what to type to be Joseph in the game. So, like, many levels of things there. That damn sound, those damn voices. I don't even know what direction I was running. I wove through that network of tunnels. I ran my hand along the wall, always turning left. For every turn, and every rock felt the same. For all I knew, I was running in circles. Finally, I ended up here. And I hid. I panicked. I heard you talking, but I didn't think I could trust my senses. But listen, there's one thing I have to tell you. While I was out there lost in the tunnels and caves, I came across the Zero, and I had no idea. It's like a real place. They pick up garbage, they deliver mail, they go to work and church, but it has an awful kind of emptiness. Wandering through, I heard horrible echoes. Weird images got burned into my mind's eye. A television, a scarecrow, a crystal, a feather, a sandwich, a CRT monitor, a bottle, an anchor. All of those things we saw. Lula looks down at her feet. Yeah, let's ask him more about that. You shout something at Joseph about the project you were working on together. You'll die in these damn cold caves. What about those men? You know they'll come back. Tell him we can hide. Tell him we can start a fire. You shout something at Joseph about going deeper into the caves. You shout something at Joseph about the project you were working on together. You'll die in these damn cold caves. What about those men? You know they'll come back. Tell him we can hide. Tell him we can start a fire. You shout something at Joseph about going deeper into the caves. Did you hear their voices? They're not... They'll find you, but not me. I'm going back to the surface. Stop, your stupid fight is ringing through the whole damn cave. Joseph is right, we can't stay here. I'm leaving too, but I'm not going back to the surface. I'm gonna take my station wagon and I'm heading down to the Zero. Yeah, don't leave us here. You plead with Lula about your continued collaboration. I'll send you this tape when I'm done recording. I'll put it in the mail, and then you can see what happened your damn machine does with it. Lula and Joseph have left. That was really sad. They're in the tunnels. And it does kind of keep, like, pulling out, it feels like, to sort of, like, re-situate the player, in this way that I was kind of, like, just explaining, where, you know, it kind of is, like, we're working at, like, several levels of remove here, and it feels like these moments of kind of, like, pulling the camera back are a way to sort of, like, reframe us as, players within our current time. Okay. Abandoned by your collaborators, your confidants, your companions, the only two among your colleagues with whom you've ever trusted the gift of your friendship. Pretty thick. Sounds like Beardo had his heart broken. You wander the tunnels alone, dragging along the components of your unrealized masterpiece, combing the underground passages for a new site in which to realize your vision. Sounds like a genius. Vane, yeah. My Aunt Remedios, before she got in the whole ethnomusicography thing, she was a painter, mostly nudes in oil. She had this model. I'll never forget him. Big, classically physical guy. Looked like he was about to storm Troy. He made everyone call him the Colonel. Weaver and I saw this guy naked a lot. You couldn't help it. He was always posing somewhere in the house, chasing the light from room to room, while Aunt Remedios made a sketch of his profile or worked on the right mix of pigments for his abdomen. The Colonel had this magnificent hair, long black hair that ran down to just the bottom of his shoulder blades. One evening he was standing next to an open window in the back of the house. The sun was setting. Early spring, I think. It was kind of windy. Aunt Remedios was trying to get his hair right. She kept arranging it, like half in front and half behind, running over his shoulders and laying across his chest in this very specific way. But it itched him or something, and he'd do this weird, indignant shuffle thing, or the wind from an open window would push it around, or he'd start to turn his neck, and Weaver or I ran by, and everything would be tangled again. The final product was a swirl of black lines billowing around the top of his neck. Weird thing is, I don't even remember his face now, just the black swirl. Probably the best one she ever painted. Kind of an interesting aside, like right in the middle of all of that. Okay, so now we find ourselves in the Hall of the Mountain King. After what may have been years, you stumble out of a tunnel into a cavernous open space. So now we finally are to where we expect to be. Stalactites that are in the ceiling. This is where you'll set up your equipment, establish your legacy. And then Xanadu. I love the music. It's so great. Now's the time to continue your work. Research assistants, 0. Realism index, 37%. Romance index, 2%. Mold coverage, 0%. And then I love the shift to like a stats-based system. So I'm interested in this realism index. You may hire a new research assistant, assign assistants to a task, or sleep until tomorrow. Alright. You have hired Amy, who studies human-computer interaction. So, yeah, like, this is kind of, like, an interesting decision, because I found myself just wanting to hire new research assistants, because I know that he has research assistants, and so, you know, they must have been hired. But there's no reason I necessarily have to choose those. Like, I could assign them to a task. You may assign research assistants to debugging, transcription, or speculation. Yeah, see, and now this, like, puts me in, this position, that, like, I don't actually want to do this to my grad students. Okay. Yeah, I also like how mold coverage is right next to romance. That's pretty great. Alright. No new applicants. Try again later. Let's sleep. Amy identifies a bug with the oxygen level simulation, but is unable to fix it. Now is the time to continue your work. Research assistants 1. Realism index 37. Romance index 0. Mold coverage 8%. So we have slightly more mold, yay. We have hired Weaver, who studies math. Let's assign her. Alright. I definitely find myself, in this phase now, kind of just, like, wanting to click through it a bit. I don't actually want them to do any of this stuff. And what's funny is that because the game has, set up certain expectations for me about, my choices, Weaver fixes some weird math with some weirder math. Yeah, that sounds like math. Amy summarizes the migratory patterns of bats through the tunnels. Greasy black moles collecting on the computer equipment. Now is the time to continue your work. Realism index 62%. Still no romance. Mold coverage, 17%. I am glad that they are keeping the romance index at 0%. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. What happens if I just kind of keep sleeping? Time passes. Intruders! The strangers are doing something to the equipment, but you can't make out what. You hide behind a rock until they leave. With trepidation, you emerge from your hiding place hours later. Now is the time to continue your work. Not this... Yeah, I'm not convinced this is getting us any closer to the 0. And they took all the mold. Man, I guess we can try to quit and start over. I want to keep playing. Okay, sure, we can keep playing. Yeah, let's do other stuff. Quit. Sure you want to quit? Yes. That was a rhetorical question. Exit. But you aren't in anything at the moment. Maybe we have to lose or die somehow in order to start over. Eat the lamp! We didn't even get lamp, but we'll eat it anyway. Don't be ridiculous. Maybe we have to wait it out. So that's a great moment where, as, you know, kind of right as I was saying as the player, like, okay, I'm kind of just clicking through this because I'm kind of feeling like I want to move on. Then it presents me with the option to move on, and then takes it away, so that now I, as the player, am feeling the same thing that these characters are feeling. Research assistants come and go. One of them, the mathematician named Weaver, follows strangers into the tunnel. She doesn't return, but neither do they. Years pass, mold accumulates. You and the remaining research assistants take to burning disused equipment in the center of the room. The black mold is intensely flammable and makes excellent catalyst. It leaves a sweet narcotic perfume. So now we know why all those things are burning. One night you have visitors, outsiders, different ones. Then, later that night, an old friend. Lula says you really did go deeper into the caves. Premature end of file. Press any key to quit. Huh. So maybe we're the new visitors and maybe Lula's going to come. Scene 10. Man, there really are a lot of scenes in here. Lula, there she is! You really did go deeper into the caves. Well, you were easy enough to find. I've met a few of your former assistants. One can't help but hear things. So this is what became of our project. Oh. I've made some additions. Joseph stole the data tapes for the first half, so I've had some blank spots to fill. Yes, I know. He published his version, actually. I'm sorry to report that it's a bit tediously sentimental. We've been looking for you. So you found the address data? Just pass it over to Donald here. Donald, will you be a dear and crunch these numbers? We're looking to sort out a street named Collision. Dogwood Drive. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about both of these things. Well, it should only be an hour or so. Andrew will carry it over to... I'll be at the bureau for the rest of the night. Just mark it private materials for the attention of Senior Clerk Chamberlain. How do we get to the bureau from here? The bridge! Yes, the bridge. Through the gate over there. Now we, too, recede into history. Good night, Donald. Meet at the bureau and we'll get you on your way. Head counterclockwise to the cathode ray, then turn around. It's just clockwise until you find the bureau. Between us, I think you should drive. Okay. We'll head through the gate. The gate is open this time. Yeah, again, that, like, meta video game moment, right? Where, this gate that seemed to have no purpose other than to just be, like, very visibly there, being a gate. It's now closed. And we have our chorus again. Everybody's running. Someone has left a portable tape recorder on the path. It doesn't appear damaged, but there's no tape to play or record. Yeah, kind of another, like, interesting use of like, my expectation, because I was like, oh, surely there's just a tape recorder laying in the middle of this path. Why would there be? But there is. Now I'm gonna look at everything on the way down, sorry. A bookshelf is carried only partway up the path here before the project was abandoned. It's still useful. The peak of the spire is crowded anyway. It's kind of like a trope that I'm expecting to pick up and use in its kind of video game way, and then each time it's sort of telling me, like, no, why would that be a thing? It's an electrical lantern, of course it is. Why would it not be? But also, its batteries are dead, so don't even bother. Not be, but also its batteries are dead, so don't even bother. Yeah. What happened up there? I'm actually not sure. Very mysterious, man. We've got places to go. Okay, I know we're supposedly very close. Has anybody that's still left, finished this game? Because I am kind of reaching the point where I need to sort of, call it. So if people are not sure, I may just, like, stop here, and then we might have, like, a super short stream tomorrow or something to finish it out. Oh, that was the cathode ray. Oops. And now, interesting that all of our things that we have for landmarks are things we saw in the tunnel. Yeah, just go. Bicycle, feather, cactus, yeah, and these are our familiar ones. There's the bureau, yay. It's interesting that I find myself getting kind of used to the weird directions now, where I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's, it's just clockwise and then counterclockwise. Okay, I feel like we're probably super close to being done. I kind of want to finish it. Like, I would hate to leave like 10 minutes left, but I don't actually know. Okay. go to the reception. It's kind of interesting because now that I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try to play a little more quickly. I don't even know how to actually play more quickly. There are some things, of course, where yeah, I can. Okay, I'll talk to the reception. Yeah, hi Lula. Here you are. Marianne has the rest of the evening off, so I'm minding the desk. And that's great. I really like, as a design decision, that kind of shortcut moment that we had just now, where I was kind of like, oh man, last time I had to really like chase her down, you know, and I don't want to go through another one of those puzzles. And it's just like, no, you don't have to. She's just right here at the front. Donald and his assistants were able to sort through the noise. Had Rick cross-reference the results against some of our records, he found a corresponding mail stop on the Echo River route. As it happens, the night ferry is scheduled to make its stop here shortly. The ferryman carries the mail and collects the garbage as well. I'm sure you can catch a ride out that way. You're welcome to wait here. I have to get back to packing. Are you going somewhere? I might. I'm feeling impulsive and I'd like to be ready. Maybe back to Mexico. It's been years. They still have one of my sculptures in the museum down there. Did you know? Big, ugly iron thing. Time to have it scrapped anyway. Safe travels. Try to stay out of the water. It's colder than it looks and deep. I like the little cat. It's really cute. Alright. And then we have this this nice option here to wait, so we don't have to, like, literally wait. How long do we have to wait? It's a great question. Oh, who knows? Alright, what happened? What did happen? No! Where are the strangers come from? Okay, great. So, yeah, I talked a little bit last stream about narrative pacing and dramatic pacing, particularly in, like, the very codified 5-act structure. You know, dramatic pacing is, like, a thing we understand pretty well, right? Especially if we're talking, like, the Aristotelian drama. And the pacing in this game has felt pretty weird. At times, you know, it feels like it's kind of building on, like, the mystery genre of pacing, wherein it's introducing new questions as a form of introducing drama. But this game has done a thing where it's kind of introduced a question, and then answered the question, and then introduced a new one, and then answered that one. Which is a little more in line with maybe, like, serial drama, which as, you know, as kind of an episodic piece is fairly in line with this. But so one of the questions that this one has raised is who these strangers are, and now it looks like we finally get to see. Okay. Now we get this scene again. Replayed, it looks like, from the, from Conway and, Shannon. Let's head to the church. So yeah, and I mean, this sort of like replaying of the same scene from a different perspective, also feels very much like a lot of the postmodern theater that people were mentioning in chat earlier. We can look at the floor before we sit. Church floor is cold metal, scuffed and flexed by unknown boot heels. Sit. I'm almost out of water, so I definitely do need to stop soon because my throat will totally be mad at me if I don't. Okay, I don't know what I expected. The strangers, he kept saying. Kind of vague already, isn't it? Donald's a stranger. Hell, you and I are practically strangers. It's a good point. Listen, earlier in the mine, I didn't want to talk about it, but I mean, I want her to talk about it, but I also don't want her to feel like she has to talk about it. But I'm gonna ask anyway. When I saw Weaver, she was on TV. I was testing a pretty simple tube repair, flipping through the channels to check the saturation, and she was just there. So this is great. This is kind of, I talked a little bit earlier about, like, callbacks to previous episodes, and one way to do that is actually, like, in the narrative, to say, like, hey, remember this thing that happened in the last episode? And this is actually doing that, so that's really great, and I'm glad they're doing it, because, even though it's only been 2 weeks, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that was a thing, that was a question that was raised, so I'm glad that we're sort of getting back to that now. At the very least, it's helping me remember, right? It was kind of horrible. I mean, I told you she disappeared, suddenly, ran away, but we thought she was dead. Yeah, I guess I don't like to say it. Dead. And then, the next time I flipped to channel 2, Weaver. It's burned in my vision now. She's standing in a room. The walls are a blank kind of gray. There's tape on the walls, like markings, and desks. A classroom, maybe? The camera's in the corner, so it's this sort of 45-degree angle into the room. And there's Weaver right in the center. I'm laughing because, like, it's, describing where we are. I stopped turning the dial. Hell, I think I stopped breathing. Eventually, she spoke, but there was no real sound, just this awful hum. I read the closed captions. She said to go to the mine. I'd find something there. I can't remember her exact words. Whenever I try, I get distracted, fuzzy. Shannon coughs into her sleeve. It's so dusty in here, right? Yeah, we'll be sympathetic. It's real dusty. You'd think with all these holes in the ceiling. What the hell was that? Did you hear that? Yeah, it must have been the church settling. Okay. Whoa. What's this guy? Click. Okay. Oh man. Okay. Visitors. Stranger activates the tape player slung on his shoulder. A crackly drawl echoes in the room. It is patient and sounds like it should be smiling. My regrets, I hope I didn't keep you waiting long. We don't see a lot of foot traffic these days. I guess you're here about the job. I'm afraid we only have one opening at the moment. Horrible business. Yeah. Certainly, I'll tell you everything you need to know. I've only just met you, but I feel certain there's a place for you here. I'll just take you over to meet the dispatcher, show you the trucks, get you familiarized. We can converse as we go. Is this place? Well, it's not an old church. No, I guess not, but still, it has a kind of reverence to it. And what's that smell? Like bread? Baking bread? Please follow me. So I'm a little unsure of how to read this skeleton figure right now. If that is supposed to be like a robot, or what does this U mean? Whoa. Okay, so the magnetic resonance thing. have to ask you to step in here for a moment. This is for your safety. Adjust your outfits just a bit. There's some protective headwear on the wall back there. Please remove your shoes and eyeglasses. We don't wear glasses, so that won't be an issue. Well, do us a favor and put on the headwear anyway. Just this way. Talk to these folks. More new arrivals this evening. Plenty to do. Got to relay the formula. Yeah, I guess I'm curious what job they're working. I don't know that it's been settled just yet. You see, sometimes we take on newcomers already in debt to the distillery. One of the foremen will find something for them to do, chip away at their sum until it's all settled. That's what I'm doing here, chipping away. That's what we're all doing. Whoa. Okay. This got really grim. Wow, check this stuff out. It must be decades old, but it's in perfect condition. How do you think they keep it like that? Maintenance, old man. I bet it's someone's job around here. Probably hard to keep all the dust out, you know, underground. That's why I got into this business, to keep old stuff like this running. Seems like such a shame to just let that fall into ruin, you know? Like that computer back in the cave, Xanadu. Decades of engineering, thousands of years of mathematics and philosophy, all petrified into living stone. How can you just let that fall apart? Kind of want to see if we're going to get some amazing vista over here. Not really. Echoes of ourselves, kind of creepy. Oh, what was that? Shuttle? Having a really hard time. It feels like only about like every 2 to 3 clicks that I make actually responds, even though the little finger is like clearly clicking. Here's the fleet. Haha. Oh, we just use these to get around internally. How big is this place? Oh, it's grown a great deal over the years. Incredible to think, really. It's a pretty van, you guess. When Mr. Bishop founded this operation, it was only about 1,800 square feet, and half or more of that was occupied by camouflage to keep the law out. Hiding in the back of an old church, purifying spirits by handmade fire, a kettle, and a dream. So the trucks are just east a ways, which in shipping, you can become acquainted with the dispatcher there. Give me a tap on the shoulder if you see something that catches your eye. Always happy to show off the facilities. Yeah, okay. We're gonna head down to shipping. Look at all these pretty trucks. Kind of definitely like seem to be standing in direct contrast to our sort of like beat up old truck. Ours has like very rounded corners, and these are very square, white. Here it is. Now I have to ask, as a matter of course, what kind of experience do you have driving trucks? Aha, precious cargo. You'll do just fine. And you can drive safely, can't you? I haven't any doubt now. It's only after what happened with Miguel this evening. I suppose that's all you must say? I like that. Never more than you. It's more than never more than you must. It's boastful, it's ugly. I do pity ill-fated Miguel, but he was good company and slow to anger. But if we're speaking confidentially, well, with all that lost product to be repaid, bourbon and glass dashed across the interstate, and a few casks too, we're all just thankful he had no next of kin. Oh no, that crash that we saw at the beginning. Poor Miguel. No. So let's see if we can ring up the dispatcher. Starts the truck and switches on the CB radio. This a good time, dispatch? We might have found Miguel's replacement. Thought you might like to get acquainted. 10-9, come again? Hello? Tell dispatch something impressive about yourself. They're very well regarded here. I'm not really... I was gonna say, like, how far are we gonna get into this before we're like, hey, yeah, we're not actually here for a job. 99 wheel holder, gotta pay the water bill. Certain they'll call back before long. Let's take a look around the truck, okay. I like the other skeleton robot guys walking around. So we're just about ready to go out. We have some good strong folks in shipping here, so if you need to worry about loading and you don't want to, a bit hard on the knees and back at our age, eh? Of course, you'll have to unload at the destination, but that's the job. And some drivers take the extra shift stacking and loading here. I see. Well, surely we can spare a dolly and a carrying strap for your health and safety. Did I just wait? Everything was too bright. His head hurt, the usual. Lisette and Ira argued loudly just outside the open barn door. She wanted Ira to take him inside and shower, have some coffee, get to the job. So that was a really interesting choice that it just set up there for me, where yeah, it basically just gave me the choice to leave the scene by waking up, or to stay in the scene by continuing on. Ira said there wasn't time. Conway was in no condition. It was an important job. They couldn't put it off. Ira said to let the deadbeats sleep it off and send him packing. He said Charlie could do the job. Kept arguing. Lisette tried to say Charlie had schoolwork, that Conway could be roused. Ira said Charlie should earn his bed for the summer. Conway was a lost cause, couldn't show up to a job bleary-eyed and smelling like booze. Ira was a stubborn man, so Charlie went along and Conway drifted out again, and he didn't hear about the accident until months later. Huh. So, like a little flashback there. Oh sure, I know you'll want to look. Kick the tires, that's a good thing we do, isn't it? Slow our knees could exert the kind of force these tires see out there on the road. More likely to hurt ourselves isn't the way. Yeah, and we keep having these kind of moments that we can go back. And so I mentioned a bit last time about how we were having this moment where we were having a flashback in text but not actually having it on screen, where these are very explicitly kind of like darkening our vision so we don't actually get to see the area that we're actually in. He started walking. took an unforeseen detour where the creek and road parted, following the edge of water. Skipped a few stones alone, then stopped to consider an overturned boat. It's a kind of serenity that wandered and looking without purpose. So, I'm really sorry, stream, but I think I'm actually gonna have to go, and I know we're probably, like, super, super close, but, yeah, I just, like, kind of have to. So, we have a couple options. Either I can finish it up tomorrow on kind of like an off day. It would probably have to be kind of late. I'm not sure. Or I could start this kind of at the beginning of the stream on Monday and we could just have a really short stream. Or I could just kind of wait until part 4 comes out to finish this, which I believe is going to be the last scene, which could also kind of give us a nice like tie over into the current scene. So I'm going to leave that question to you, and also invite kind of last closing comments and things like that. So if you have any questions or comments or anything. This part of Act 3 feels a lot more like it feels like it's moving more quickly. I really wanted to get through it today, and I'm really sorry that I couldn't, but it is already like 45 minutes over when I'm supposed to stop, so I probably should have just stopped at 8. I like the story and where it's going. The pacing feels a little bit weird to me still. So I really am like really curious to see how this ends. So I think, given the option, I might be leaning toward kind of filling in with like a really short stream tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. Not wait for the next act. Yeah, I kind of am tending to agree with you as well. So yeah, I think what I'll do then is maybe save my sort of like final analysis of the scene for the next stream. And maybe if you're not following me on Twitter already, you should do that, or following Cerebral Arcade rather. And I will tweet during the day tomorrow with how my day is looking and see if I can maybe squeeze in a stream tomorrow night. So thanks so much for watching. I'm really sorry to kind of have to like leave really abruptly on you like this. In the future, I'll try to kind of maybe try to pace things out a little bit better and leave at a more convenient time. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. You have been really amazing, and I do still really want to do that thing that I was talking about before with maybe playing some less story focused games, kind of like interspersed with the story games. So yeah, we will see. Anyway, if you have additional games you want me to play, or stuff you want me to talk about, or things you want me to read, or like you saw a cool thing and you want to share it with me, yeah, hit me up on Twitter, on Facebook, Cerebral Arcade for both, and yeah, also expect a new blog post on Cerebral Arcade, probably over the weekend or slightly before, where I'll be kind of talking about the experience of setting up this stream and how it's been different from Scholars Play, and kind of doing a little bit of a postmortem. Once I get done actually playing this act, then I plan to do kind of like a blog, sort of gathering my thoughts and stuff. And that was kind of the impetus for starting this stream, was getting, setting aside the time to play stuff so that I have time to review it, which means that hopefully reviews will come out of this, and that'll be cool and fun. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Bye!